Howdy, howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back. So today we've got a deck review. Kacha. That's what we're saying nowadays, is Kacha. So today was a beautiful day. I started a new job, so that's why we're doing this a little bit later in the day. This is already opened. This is actually a whole pile of playing cards that I got from David a couple weeks ago before I started moving, and I still haven't got them reviewed yet. So let's take a look at that. Nomad. And on the back here, that is going to be a nice looking back design. On the side, let's see here. Luxury playing cards produced by THEORY11, designed by Chad Michael. So that's pretty cool. Now here's the deal. Other side says luxury playing cards crafted in the United States for the Nomad Hotel, New York City. So that's kind of interesting. These are hotel cards. Let's see what it says on here. The seal of the state of New York, founded 1624, north of Madison Square, 1170 Broadway. So there's that little seal there. So the good news is that once we get all moved and settled in, we will be doing more videos outside. So that's fun. But we are also going to be switching back to the camera really soon and start editing our videos again. So that is going to be exciting. So we've got some beautiful design work on the inside as well as on the tabs. And that same inside design is on the tabs there as well. Let's get these out of here. Anything fancy on the inside besides the Nomad? Okay. So here we have the cards. They are fairly slippery. We got some interesting stuff here. Ooh, look at that. The Nomad Hotel, an evening of magic, mystery, and deception. For details and tickets, visit nomadmagician.com. And on the back, it just says abracadabra. And then there's Nomad in the center. So that's pretty cool. And then we got Nomad Hotel, same thing. Except for on the back, it says the Magician, the Nomad Hotel. So this is the back design. So very, very interesting. Let's get a feel on it. It's been a while since I've done anything with THEORY11. As far as, well, it's been a while since I've reviewed stuff. Let's take a look here. And I know we've said that we were going to start doing the pictorials, but we haven't picked that up yet. That's probably going to start this next week, hopefully. So we will be uploading on Instagram and Facebook every Wednesday. We will be doing pictures of the cards, and then you can check us out here on YouTube to hear me talk about them. So they're kind of upside down like this, so maybe we can do this. So it looks like the pips are pretty standard, except for the ace, of course. Of course. There we go. Got that THEORY11 type of vibe to them with that really robust ink. You know, it's really a solid look to them there. There we go. Let's see here. Now the big question is, are we going to get anything special in a deck like this? Because they got a lot of design work that they put into this. But with THEORY11, they do try to cater towards the Magician. So let's see if we have anything here towards the end. It doesn't look like the aces are no power pips and no extra cards. There we go. Nice little fan there. So I like, so as far as the design with the Nomad, I'm not familiar with the Nomad Hotel. So for this particular review, just like with most things, everything I do is impromptu. This is my first take, unless I really mess up. But let's see here. What does that say? I'm not going to try to read it. I'm guessing it's a Latin saying. I'm going to say, because of the color and the way that this line here on the outside is, these little squares, get real close for you there. When you do a fan, as it starts to spread, it creates this almost like this mirage, this optical illusion as you spread through the cards that creates this nice little after image. So that's something that I really enjoy about this deck, that because of it being black and white, you really get this vibe of of this really weird, like I said, this optical illusion to how that looks. Especially if you're moving it really quickly and you go for the close, something like that. They feel great. They're Theory 11, so you can't do any, can't mess around with that. Let's see how they spread here. Even nice with that spread. So here's the interesting thing. So I personally, preference-wise, I like when there's a little bit of a circle in the center, because you go for the spin. Now this spin move on this is rather satisfying, I gotta say. Again, that because of that color and that design, it just gives it this mesmerizing look to it. So I really enjoy that. And it just gives it this really nice look to it as it kind of opens up a little bit there. So if we were to talk about what kind of magic you could do this, I mean, it has no gimmicks. And the jokers are, looks like the Tin Man. Oh no, it's kind of more of a, I don't know. You'll have to tell me what that is. I'm guessing there's a story behind that. But there is such a, and they are the same. So it's not a big joker and a little joker. The Simple Fool. So that's kind of cool. So I would say you could use this deck every day. This is an everyday deck, just because of how nice it feels, how simplistic it is, and because there's nothing crazy going on here on the back that would really say, that you would use this for a specific theme or a certain thing. It just has this really beautiful. There's some keys in there, so you could even maybe you could do like the ghost key or something. You could really tie in the whole ghost, do some ghost stuff, do some some key work. Bring some keys into your act. All sorts of fun stuff there. So I really enjoy this deck for that sake. I think it's Theory 11, so it's already high up there for the design. So here's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to start bringing in categories as we move forward, so that when we go into our top 5 decks that we have, every deck that I have, there's going to be different categories, which means there might be runner-ups, okay? And we'll talk more about that in the future. So, but in these videos as we go, we're actually going to start talking about categories. So Theory 11 is, it's not a designer per se, but they're who released the cards. So like Bicycle, Tally Hose, Theory 11s, stuff like that, right? So those manufacturers, or however you want to call it, the people, I'm calling them designers. That might not be the proper name, but as we move forward, we're going to start thinking about overall. Obviously, Bicycle releases so many different designs. I mean, I've got piles and piles of different designs from Bicycles that are fantastic, right? Can you use all of them every day? No. So we're going to talk about, to me, what is my favorite, what is the best beat deck that I have. The beat deck is the everyday, it's not the everyday carry deck, but it's the everyday practice deck. What is the deck that I'm most likely going to grab, which in the past, as you can tell, they're still right up front here, okay? The Bees. They're the deck that I would just play with, but they were my first deck that I kind of started with Magic, so obviously I've had them the longest. I've kind of moved on to some other stuff now, like I carry every day, they're right here. I carry the 7-Elevens every day because I can pick them up at the 7-Eleven downtown. I'm right here, just like a normal Bicycle deck. I would carry those every day just for a normal deck. But they're also my beat deck, but they're also an EDC deck, which an EDC deck is, it's not necessarily the deck that I would do practice with, but it's the deck that if somebody wanted to see Magic, that's the one I would use. Most people, like, this would be my EDC deck. I'd carry this deck every day, or I would carry a nice Canis Lupus, or something like that. Today my trick deck, if I were to perform Magic for people, which I'm not there yet, but if I were to perform, this is the deck I was carrying to perform with. So I carry 2 decks with me today. One was the standard deck, the other one was the showy deck, the one that looks nice. So that's some of the categories. And then obviously what feels the best. Well, Theory 11 across the board, I would say 85 to 90% of the time feels the same. A really nice, thick stock type of card that really has long lasting flavor to it. So, but this design, absolutely gorgeous. So, a beautiful design, a beautiful stock. I would carry it every day. Would I use it for a beat deck? Well, here's the thing, okay? The beat deck category has to apply only to a deck that you can get easily, okay? Now, since Theory 11 is now carried at Walgreens, you could basically go pick that up if you have a Walgreens in town. I don't have a Walgreens in town, but I have access to one. But I'd have to, at this point in my life, previously, I would be in a town with a Walgreens multiple times a month. Now, that's not the case. I'd actually have to orchestrate that trip. So because of that, this would no longer fall into that category for me. But could it be? Could you have a Theory 11 deck? Would you want a Theory 11 deck in your beat deck category? The chances are no. Most magicians that I would, not most, maybe most, a lot of magicians that I've seen online said that what they would have is they would either have tally hos, which most likely not, um, but what they would probably carry the most of is this. Most magicians will only use the bicycle deck because that's what most people are familiar with. That's a standard deck. People aren't going to think anything fishy because they use it to play cards with. Now, can you say the same thing about the bees? What about the club specials? You can find the casino bees right at Rite Aid, along with the bicycles. So maybe people would say that the bees are pretty standard. So that's the case. Those are the types of cards that I would put in the beat deck category. Those are the types of cards that I would put into the everyday carry category. Would I put the standard bikes into the designer category? No, because these are standard decks. Obviously, you can go with bicycle like this, which is that's a great design for me anyway. So those are the kind of categories that we're going to be talking about. But as far as a rating, let's talk about a rating for this, because we got to have 5 different categories. We're going to talk about pricing. We're going to be talking about how well the deck would perform based on the price. Like, is it worth it to even buy the deck? Like, would you go out and buy a $150 White Monarch deck to use, or would you put it on display? That's the question. Now, if you're into displaying cards, then go for it. That's your thing. For me, if I bought a $150 deck of cards, I'd be using it every day, or maybe every other day, or I'd be using it. So let's talk about as far as the ratings, the categories that we just talked about. Your practice deck, the deck that you would grab if you're just practicing a flourish, practicing cardistry, something you're not worried about dropping. Your go-to performance deck, the one that you're going to carry in order to perform with. Okay, that's the second category. Okay, third category is the design. Obviously, Theory 11 has a lot of weight there. The price. Okay, the price is a factor based on how much you paid for it, based on how long it's going to last, and is it worth it? Okay, and then for the fifth category, let's talk about I guess how well it works based on what it is. I guess or maybe that's just the durability of the deck. Maybe that's a good category for that. We're still working on it. So this deck would fall into maybe a 3 out of 5. Okay, because it's a great design. So right there it gets a check. It gets a awesome. Would I carry it every day? Yes, it fits my perception of what I would like to carry. It spins well. It's got a nice fan to it. The faces, now, obviously for this particular, like the faces are pretty standard except for the ace here. Okay, do I need standard faces? No, but I think it works for this very nice refined deck. This is definitely, to me, I could use it suit and tie, and it would work really well. So that's a great design there. Pricing, okay, I can't use it as a beat deck because it's not in my town, and I don't have access to it every day. Basically, I can't just go pick another one up. So it doesn't get a point for that. And then pricing, most depending on if you get it on sale, is going to be somewhere between $11 and $14 for Theory 11. Now, I don't remember if we bought this one online, because some of them that we bought, if you remember, we bought the brick box from Theory 11. So I don't remember if this one is even available at the Walgreens. They carry most of them, but it might not be in stock every time I go. So think about that. So think about driving all the way to Walgreens just to find that they don't have it in store. Now, yes, nowadays you can just call, but that's an extra step. Okay, so that's what we're trying to think here. So this gets a 3 out of 5. We don't have a 5th category so far yet, and if we did, and if we called for this particular video, if we called it the durability, you have to break in these cards. So let's say theme. Is there a theme to this deck that you could use? I said suit and tie. Pretty straightforward. Could I use this? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really, that's more of a performance type thing. You know, what kind of tricks can I perform, all that kind of stuff. So we don't have a strong 5th category right now. So we only have 4 categories for this video. So we're going to give it a 3 out of 4, which seems good, but you also have to consider that there's another category that's missing. So it's technically 3 out of a hidden 5, basically. And that puts it at closer to a 60%, which would still be passing in some cases. So it depends on if we include that 5th category or not. So for me, I think that this deck could definitely make it into to a nice, like, let's say like Josh Norbito there, he's got his little shoebox full of his cards. Now he doesn't have a lot of cards because he's just started getting into collecting different decks this year. So let's say we had to pack up a shoebox of only the cards that we would want to keep out of all the cards that we have. Would it make it in there? That's the question. And then based on that box that we put together, we then have to decide what our favorite 5 are in that box. That's kind of what we're trying to build up to. So for these cards, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, they're decent. But keeping in mind, again, I know this is a rambly video because we haven't really done a video in a while. So we want to just kind of hang out and talk a little bit. So let's think about, we're thinking about using the deck of cards. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, well, magic. You know, we're here to do magic. This is a card review. So really, what I'm trying to get here is I'm trying to get you guys to think about the cards that you're buying. Think about why you're buying them. Think about what you're going to use them for. If they're a display deck, then put them on display. For instance, most of my Theory 11 decks would, like my Neil Patrick Harris deck, this one, they would just be on display. That's really all I'm going to, I might break them out to show people, but for the most part, I'm not going to be using them to do anything except for display them. So they're not going to make it in my top 5. But you have to keep in mind that you can have an everyday beat deck, and it could be an everyday carry deck as well, especially like that 7-Eleven deck. I love it. I'd use it every day. If I'm going to carry a gray deck, I'm either going to carry this one or I'm going to carry the 7-Eleven one. So I can use that for the tricks to perform with. I can use it as the beat deck. Once the deck gets a little bit like this, I can't use to perform with anymore. Can I still use it for cardistry? Sure. So sometimes they'll fall into multiple categories, but sometimes the categories don't really make sense. Obviously, if I'm going to use the cards every day to practice with, I definitely wouldn't mind performing with them for that purpose. So keeping in mind that's what we're going with. Are these going to make it into my shoebox? Yeah. Well, they're not mine. They're David's, so they don't make it into my shoebox. But for you guys out there, if you like Theory 11, if you like something a little bit more classy, then I would definitely consider getting some Nomads, kind of playing around with them. Yeah, gorgeous. And they come in these beautiful boxes. Again, here's the problem with Theory 11. The boxes are so beautiful that you get into this situation where you just want to display them. You don't want to take them out. You don't want to bust them up, because obviously if they're riding around in your pocket, they're getting, eventually you're going to damage the box. Well, okay, that was rather long-winded. But that's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk about the cards because when we talk about magic theory, we're going to be opening up those videos to 20, 10, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour of talking about real magic. Not giving away magic secrets, but we're going to be talking about magic theory. We're going to be talking about the breakdown of, step by step, the approach to magic that a lot of people should have, and that is performance, the get ready. A lot of people want to just jump right into the magic, but the magic is only 20%. We got to talk about the get ready. And we're not talking about the get ready of a trick. Kind of we are. But we're talking about the get ready of performance. We're talking about clothes. We're talking about presentation. We're talking about speech. We're talking about inflection. You really want to get into it. If you want to be fast paced and you'll be like, hey guys, check out what I got going on today. We're going to have a lot of fun. Or you can take it back and say, I place your card here, but perhaps your card is actually here. So you can really slow it down, you can speed it up, you can control your environment. And that's really what we're going to be talking about on Fridays, is we're really going to open it up and we're going to chat, okay? So on Wednesdays, we're going to be in this view to look at the cards. We're going to start doing pictorials probably next week where we're going to lay them out here. We're going to take pictures of the fronts, the backs. If there's different cards, we're going to take pictures of those, like the jokers. We might do some other fun stuff as well. That way you guys can get a closer look at these cards. And yeah, hope you guys really enjoyed. If I'll try not to be as long-winded because I did talk about a lot of other stuff in this video that I normally wouldn't. And yeah, I'm just kind of really excited to get back into the normal content. So thank you guys, and remember, stay positive, stay active, and stay awesome. And we'll see you in the next one.